Hello, my name is Justin Beal, and today we're going to try to upload some code I have for OpenAI assistance to PI using Cursor SH as an AI assistant. I have some boilerplate code that I use for various OpenAI assistants. This code can create an OpenAI assistant. It can load data into a vector store. It handles the chat functionality. And the issue that I'm running into is that I keep copying and pasting this between various projects. And I'm about to start a new one. And rather than copy and pasting, I think it would be relevant to actually upload this to PyPi and update my existing projects to pull down that package and use it. The first thing I'm going to do is going to copy one of my projects into a blank template. And then I'm going to remove all the code that doesn't have to deal with the OpenAI assistance. I'm just going to get to a new directory. I'm just going to call it OpenAI Assistant. I'm going to make a new directory, OpenAI Assistant, and then I'm going to copy the code from the project I'm in right now to that. And then I'm going to remove all the boilerplates. So if I say CP-R and then pass to the current project, which is my knowledge bot here, and then I'm going to move all of the code into that OpenAI Assistant directory. Now that's complete. I'm going to open up that new project in Cursor SH and see what I can do real quick. Okay, now that I have it open, I'm just going to clear away all of the files that have nothing to do with this particular project that I'm imagining, all of the non-checked in files, my virtual environment. I'm not going to need this data directory. I don't need this spike directory. So all of these are going away. And then I'm going to get rid of this other stuff. All right, with that done, I'm going to remove my Git files using the command line because I know they're there even though I can't see them inside the project. So that is all removed. Now it's as if it is a brand new project. We're going to go into GitHub real quick and create a brand new project. I'm just going to call it the same name. It's going to be OpenAI Assistant, and we'll give it a description here at some point. And that's pretty much it. We're going to create the repository. Now it says create a new repository for the command line or push an existing. We're going to copy this right here. We're going to git init. So we start a new repository. We're going to paste and then come over here. We're going to make sure we have the main branch with our repository initialized. Let's look at the README to change some things around, and then we can push that up and verify that we have a good connection. So this right here says knowledge bot. We're going to call it OpenAI Assistant, and we'll get a description here in a little bit, but what we're going to say is this is a repository to manage OpenAI assistants. That's all we'll need right now. We're going to remove everything else here. The setup is going to be pretty similar, so we're going to keep some of that. Instead of this knowledge bot URL, it's going to be the new URL we just had, which is OpenAI Assistant. And we're going to change this right here to also say OpenAI Assistant. We are going to have a open API key, so we're going to leave that in there. And we're going to use brew to install hatch. We're going to create an environment with, then we're going to initialize it with a shell. I guess we're not going to actually have a main script. We're just going to have our testing. So we're still going to use PyTest coverage, all that stuff. Let's go ahead and push up just that README. And what we're going to say is add initial README to project. Let's do a git push. We're going to reload. And at this point, we can see that we have our README set up and we're on our way. I got a little bit more cleanup I want to do. So let's go ahead and update our PyProject toml, which is what we're going to use to actually manage and push our projects to PyPi. So this is the same thing. It's going to be Open AI Assistant. We're going to take our description from our README and put that in there. And then as I scroll down, I'm looking, we can keep LawGuru, OpenAI. We're not going to need path, stack M is going to be important, and we're not going to need SQL Alchemy. This is still good for the hatch version. Our source directory is what we're going to actually include. We're going to do things with our virtual environments. We actually don't have a chat or a build anymore. We don't need this test integration, but we do want this PyTest. And over here, looking, this seems okay. We're not going to have this. All right, so then our PyProject toml is set up pretty good. Real quick, I'm just going to review the other file setup. Looks good. Run chat, we're not actually going to have. This build, we're not going to have. This rough defaults, I like those as a settings. My beerware license, get ignore is good. OpenAI key, and some coverage numbers. Okay. Now, if we look at our GitHub workflows, we're not going to need that. It'd be nice to have a continuous integration one, and this looks correct. So if we look at our source again, I have this timers. We'll keep the timers. Prompts. I'm going to remove this prompt because that's unique to each project. Exporters, I'm going to remove because that's unique to the project. But then our assistants, our chat, and our client, I believe is what I want to push up to PyPi. I'm going to go to the command line. I'm going to say hatch and create. And that's going to set up a virtual environment for us. And I can see over here that it is recognized by cursor. So yeah, let's select that virtual environment. And we're going to say hatch, run tests. All right, so I got one error. What is the error? No module name exporters. I didn't realize that was part of this. So let's see where that is actually used. Oh, we have this data file prefix. I believe that's in this failing test right here. And you can see right here, we're exporting this data file prefix. I don't know where that is actually used. Oh, it's used for getting the prompt. We deleted the prompt stuff because we don't need that. And we were just using the data file prefix as a default name for some things. So what we're going to say with this is that this is going to be example data file prefix. It's going to be test. Now, as we go through this, I might actually make that a parameter that I'm going to have to push into my project. So that way it's generic as opposed to being a constant that was pulled from another file. Let's see, is there anywhere else? We're actually going to take this data file prefix. We're going to paste it there. We're going to paste it down here too. All right, we'll probably go over the code a little bit as we do this too. So I'm going to run my test again. I've still got an error. That's exciting. Oh, there's no module name exports. Yeah, I probably gotta remove that. Where's exports? All right, so we got to figure out where that's used. Somewhere in my project has been exporters. There we go. What's used as the prefix to help find the vector stores and files related to an assistant. So we're going to push that into our OpenAI assistant as a variable now. Over here, we're going to say data file prefix, and that's going to be a string, and it is not going to have a default. So let's actually move it to the left here. Thank you very much, cursor, for the assist. So we're going to say, there we go. And now we have our data file prefix in there. And with the prompt, where is that used? Let's see. Yeah, the prompt is part of creating the assistant. All right, the prompt is just a string, so we're going to expect that to be passed into. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to say, we're going to put this to the other side. And let's just say prompt of string. And let's see, that looks good. Say prompt with string. And then there we go, a little bit of help. So then I actually don't want to default the assistant name or the description anymore. Well, let's just say a helpful assistant. We make that default. Now we're going to get rid of this get prompt, get rid of our default assistant name, and we're going to have to switch out our prompt here. Our instructions is just going to be self.prompt. Then we have our data file prefix itself, that data file prefix, self data file prefix. Okay. What else we have right here? Another one with data file prefix. This deals with making a OpenAI assistant. So the process of this is we've had this assistant service. You init it with these things, an OpenAI client, a prompt, a data file prefix, and the assistant name. Then when you call get assistant, it basically has this flow. It tries to find the existing assistant based upon the name, or it creates the new assistant with the name. So find an existing assistant, all it does is it lists all the assistants and returns the first that it finds. Otherwise, it returns none. And if that fails, it goes down to create assistant. The create assistant goes through It calls assistants create on the actual client, but it passes in this self get vector store IDs. This get vector store IDs follows a similar process where it tries to find the existing vector store based upon that data file prefix or creates a new one. And does a similar thing for the find where it just lists the vector stores and returns the first one that matches. Otherwise, it creates a vector store. And then the vector store is a list of files from uploaded to OpenAI. So we have this get retrieve file IDs, and it does a similar process where it looks for any files that start with that data file prefix. If it doesn't, it tries to look for all of the files within a bin directory in the project and walks through and uploads those. Once the vector store is created, then it goes forward with the assistants create, which then has tools or default tools. Right now, the project that I pulled from didn't have anything besides just the file retrieval. So we'll probably have to deal with that here in a little bit. And then it actually calls the OpenAI assistants create. And that actually creates an assistant on the OpenAI platform that we can play with. Back to our test. Let's see if we made our test pass. I think there's going to be some failures because we changed the interface. So let's go to that test. And what we can probably see is that our assistant is now going to need a prompt and a data file path. So right here, we're going to just make a prompt. And then we're going to say example data file prefix. With that, there's no reason that it can't be moved down into our test class also. I'm going to do that. Maybe self dot. We're going to rename this to just, oh, it says data file prefix. Yeah, let's move that over here to that. And then this will be self dot data file prefix, self dot data file prefix. Let's try running our test one more time and see what happens. And with that, we're pretty close to 100%. We got 99% test coverage and everything's working. I believe this is what I actually want to upload to PyPi. But I'm curious what lines of code are not covered. Let's update our hatch command to actually run this L coverage. So let's go into the PyProject toml, and we can see right here we're saying we don't have this integration test anymore, so we don't need that. And then cov report is lcov. And then I think I can do another cov report and say terminal. Let's ask our assistant, how can I make this PyTest command produce both a lcov report and show the results on the terminal? Okay, and it says, yeah. And then we look over here. Oh, it's term, not terminal. So I was pretty close. So now we say this. We try running our test again. What do we get? We get it to the terminal, and I see a coverage lcov. So then I'm going to do my coverage getters watch, and let's look at the assistant. What line? Oh, the actual create here is not called. We could probably write a test for that real quick. Let's go over to our assistant test, and there's going to be one where I actually get assistant. Right here it says it exists. I'm surprised I didn't have one that says get assistant does not exist. Let's see. We'll make one that says test get assistant ID does not exist. How would we hit this get assistant ID? So it's finding as an assistant, but what we need is to call the create assistant. So if we come back to our test here, the assistant list is going to return an empty value, which then means we don't need the mock assistant name or the mock assistant ID. And then we come into here, we're going to call create assistant. And I think we should assert that our client was called with this value here, or the return value is actually returned from that. That's probably easiest and more realistic. So we have our mock client. What we can say is assert result equals self.mockClient.assistance create dot return value. Let's run that real quick. Oh, it failed. Why did it fail though? Oh, it's the return value dot ID. Let's put ID here and run our test one more time. Beautiful. And now if we say hatch, run test one more time, see we're at 100%. We're going to clear that out. And let's push all this up as our initial commit of code. And say add initial OpenAI assistant code. And we push that up. Now the question is, how can we easily upload this to PyPi? So I'm going to ask chat over here, say, how can I easily upload this project to PyPi? Can you help me out with step-by-step instructions? Command enter so it looks at the whole thing, knows we're using PyProject TOML. Update your PyProject TOML correctly configured for packaging based upon the provided snippet. It looks mostly set up, but you might need to add or verify a few fields. Okay, let's go look at what's going on over here. I'm going to go to my PyProject TOML and let's compare. The build system looks good. The project, dynamic version, description, license is there, README, authors, requires, dependencies, patch version, build sdist wheel. That looks like it was there. I think I was just doing that to help us out, just to make sure we have everything. Use Hatch to build your distribution files. Let's try that. Hatch build. So it built something. Now it's saying upload to PyPi. You need to have Twine installed to upload your package to PyPi. If you don't have it installed, you can install it using pip. Let's do that. I'm going to go into my shell here, and then I'm going to install Twine. So let's say pip, and right, Twine is installed. Now let's see what happens. Say Twine upload dist. I don't think this is going to work because I need to have a PyPi username and password. If you don't have an account, you can create one. Let's see just what it does. Yeah, I don't have an API token. So let's do that real quick. It gave us a link to PyPi. We're going to go there, log in. I might have one under my just.bio account. I'm going to type in my password, log in, and beautiful. It looks like it was asking for an API token. Let's see if we can generate one of those real quick. API tokens. I'm going to add an API token. I'm going to call it burner token since it may be in this video, and I'll just delete it here in a little bit. Let's create the token. So now we have a token. Here's my API token. Oh, OpenAI Assistance is too similar to others. We're going to change it to Assistant Manager real quick. So if I go into my PyProject TOML, instead of saying OpenAI Assistant, we're just going to call it AI Assistant. And then I imagine I have to redo the build. This is a great question for Cursor and GPT to answer. How can I change the name of my upload artifact in Hatch? All right, and it says to change it, we need to update our sdist and our target wheels to a custom thing. So let's go ahead and do that. We already have these two here, and we're going to do same thing. We're just going to call it AI Assistant Manager on both of these, and we're going to get rid of this comment. All right, let's try one more time. Let's see if we go then Twine upload, and then we enter our token. Let's try clearing out our dist directory. I think it's still picking up the other one. We're going to hatch build, and we're going to Twine upload, and then we're going to give our AI key. And with that, we have our project uploaded to PyPi. Let's see if we can see it inside my project. So come over here. There is Assistant Manager. Beautiful. And then we could pip install Assistant Manager. Next, let's see if I can pull this down into my existing project and use it to create a new AI assistant. Now that we have this uploaded, I was thinking we probably should write an integration test making sure we can add and remove an assistant. So I'm going to go to platform.openai.com. I'm going to go to my settings, and I'm going to create a burner key. I'm going to create a new secret key. We're going to call this AI Assist Manager. We're going to create that secret key. I'm going to copy that, and we're going to get rid of it before I post this video. Then if we look in the README, we talked about copying the local into an env. Let's do that real quick. We're going to copy that, and we're just going to call it env, and then we're going to put our key in here. There we go. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of the code from my other project. I'm going to paste that over there. We have a build over here. It builds it, and What I want to do is copy this whole file. I'm going to move it into this project real quick. We have a build, and I'm going to clean it up real quick. It's going to build it from an assistant name. We're going to call this assistant name. It's going to be AI assistant manager test. Put that in here. Then just like we had before, so in our assistant service here now, we need a prompt, a data file prefix, and an assistant name. So the prompt is going to be, you are a helpful assistant. And with that, we're just going to put test and assistant name. That looks great. It's going to try to remove any existing assistants. It's going to log the assistant ID, and we're going to clean up by deleting this. We're going to add this to our Pi project TOML. If you look over here, default scripts, we're going to say build, and that's just going to be Python run build.py. We should be pretty close to being set up for what we need. Let's try that real quick. We're going to say hatch run build. It's going through right now. It's trying to find any existing assistant with that name. It's going to try to build it, and then it's going to wipe it out. It looks like it went through. If we look at the logs, it looks like it went through and tried to remove the existing. It listed all the files, the vector stores, the assistant, and then it created the new one, created the new vector store, created the new retrieval files, but I imagine those were empty. And then it went through and actually returned the assistant ID. Then it removed the existing manager assistant and all of the related files. So that was a good test. We should add it in the README that we can run that build. So let's go into the README, and we can say in the testing, instead of unit test, let's say end-to-end test. And what we're going to do is just change this to say hatch run build. That looks good. Let's push all of this up now. We'll say add end-to-end test for building and removing an assistant. As I'm looking at this, I don't like that the name of our command here is build. I'm going to call this end to end right there. And then let's say run end to end. We're going to rename this file to run end to, and then in our Pi project TOML, we're going to change that to run end to end. Build for our test and build for the actual hatch command was pretty confusing to me. It does look like I need to update my metadata version each time. Wipe out my dist directory again real quick. We're going to do a hatch build. Then we're going to say twine upload dist. And then we're going to paste that token back in. And with that, it looks like it was successful. If we reload, we can see we are on a version 0.02. Before we close out this video, let's see if I can take that file and use it in my existing project. If we go back to my original knowledge bot project, let's see if we can pull in our new dependency. We're going to run our hatch run chat just to see, make sure everything still works. It says, hey there, how can I help you? It's a good start. Let's see if we can remove one of the packages from our local and use the newly created file from our package. So we have this source clients OpenAI. If I come over here, I have this whole clients directory. Let's blow that away real quick. Is it still pulling it now from my OpenAPI file from there? That's great. Although I don't like that its base directory is source, so maybe we should change that in the root project. But that seems to be a good start. So if I run chat again, oh, there's no module named source clients. Okay, it looks like we got to give our package a unique namespace. Let's go back to the other one real quick. And what we're going to do is we're going to rename this to, let's see, let's rename this to AI Assistant Manager. And then over here, we're going to have to update these to be AI Assistant Manager. And then let's update our setup config to be version 3. And then we're going to run our test real quick just to make sure nothing breaks. We have a couple tests fail because it's saying I cannot find source anymore. So if we look in our project for source dot, right there, they're just hatching instead of source. This is AI assistant manager. And we're trying to run our test again real quick. And we still have one more failed, which is the same thing. We're going to say AI assistant manager, run our test, and everything is green. So we're going to publish this artifact one more time. We're going to say hatch build. We got to build, and then we're going to say we're going to use our twine to upload, and then we're going to give it our key again. Now we have that pulled down. Let's switch back over to our project over here, and this is going to fail. What we're going to do is we're going to say pip uninstall AI assistant manager. Yeah, let's remove that. And then we're going to say pip install AI assistant manager. So now that is installed, we actually don't have this source OpenAI client says it can't be resolved. Instead, we're going to add our import. We're going to say from AI assistant manager.clients.open import OpenAI client. Let's also add build OpenAI client. That, and what if we say our hatch run chat if it'll work? No module named source clients. Where is source clients at? So is that anywhere we're doing that now? We should actually be doing our right here. So let's remove some things from here. And then our knowledge about this unrelated assistant service. Let's do the same thing, although we're going to replace this file completely. I just want to make sure that things are working. And then same thing here. We just did that like this. Save. Now let's try hatch run chat. And with that, we've successfully pulled down our first part of our library. That's great. I'm going to wrap up the video here. This was an example of using Cursor and a little bit of Chat Assistant to push a project to PyPi and then pull it down into a dependent project and start integrating it. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a great day.